Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Stellar Development Foundation's webinar, How Wallets and Apps Can Reach Cash Users Globally with MoneyGram. I'm Mi-Han, Events Manager at SDF, and I'll be your host today. You will hear from Boris Reznikov, Senior Director of Partnerships at SDF, and Alicia Smith, Head of Product at MoneyGram as a Service, on the recently launched cash to crypto service, MoneyGram Access. We will also have some time at the end for questions, so feel free to submit your questions throughout the presentation into the Q&A tab in your toolbar, and we'll try to answer as many as possible. Well, with that, I'll hand it over to Boris.
All right, thank you, Mi. Thank you, everybody, for joining. I appreciate your time today. So, as Mi mentioned, my name is Boris Reznikov. I'm the Senior Director of Partnerships at the Stellar Development Foundation. And if anybody isn't familiar, SDF is an organization that supports the growth and development of the Stellar Network. And specifically, my team and I will be the primary point of contact to help you learn more about MoneyGram Access, what we're doing together with MoneyGram, to understand if it's a fit for you and walk you through what the onboarding process looks like with MoneyGram. And speaking of MoneyGram, today we're lucky to have Alicia Smith here with us from MoneyGram. Alicia, do you want to introduce yourself a little bit and share what you do at MoneyGram?
Absolutely. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me today. My name is Alicia Smith. I'm Head of Product for MoneyGram as a Service, which includes MoneyGram Access. And MoneyGram as a Service is a new business line that was launched last year as our next phase of our digital transformation. My team and I are focused on partnering with digital companies and organizations who need access to the MoneyGram network to serve their customers or their users.
All right, perfect. Thank you very much, Alicia. So today we have a brief agenda, and I'll walk you through what we're going to talk about here. So we'll start with just a high-level overview of what MoneyGram Access is and what it means for you. We'll touch on what types of use cases it enables, what you can do with it, and some of the critical attributes or things to know about MoneyGram Access. Next, we'll talk about the geographic coverage, so which countries is the service available in. After that, we'll touch on pricing. We will touch on user experience and KYC, and then we'll touch on what it takes to get started, and if you're interested, what to do next. And lastly, at the end, we'll save some time for questions. So feel free to drop questions in the Q&A as we go here, and then we'll field questions at the end. All right. So an overview of MoneyGram Access. So we're connecting Web3 to the cash economy. MoneyGram Access is the first global cash to crypto, physical cash direct to crypto on-ramp in the world. And I'd like to take this opportunity right at the start here to dispel a common misconception that people have, a very reasonable misconception, which is that this is actually not about sending MoneyGram remittances through Stellar rails. So, of course, it makes sense that people would make that assumption, but actually what we're doing here is something very different from that. And what it is opening up MoneyGram's massive network of physical locations around the world to end users, people in the cash economy that want to access digital assets and the world of Web3. So more specifically, this means that wallets and applications, fintech apps of all kinds can now integrate MoneyGram Access into their wallets so that their users that may live in developing nations or developed nations, but don't have access to bank infrastructure or debit or credit cards, those users can now walk into a MoneyGram location, deposit local cash, and get digital assets that they can then use to participate in the digital economy and Web3. So just to be super specific, again, a user can walk into a MoneyGram location around the world, deposit cash, and get USDC, and vice versa. They can withdraw USDC and go and pick up cash currency at their local MoneyGram. So we're super excited about this, and Alicia, I think it would be interesting for folks to understand it a little bit from MoneyGram's perspective. You know, what led MoneyGram to take on this project, and why is it something that you're excited about?
So as I mentioned before, the MoneyGram as a service is a new business line for MoneyGram. It's been developed as a response to a strong market demand for access to the MoneyGram network. And so we were planning to open our global network and our API-driven platform to new businesses and new use cases. So like you said, we're doing something very different here. And this partnership in particular is another huge milestone as part of our broader strategy to lead innovation with cross-border payments and blockchain-enabled settlement.
Awesome.
MoneyGram was, we were one of the first companies to utilize blockchain technology at scale for cross-border payments, and now we're the only company in the payments industry that's pursuing strategic partnerships like this with innovative companies in the crypto and blockchain space, such as Stellar. And one more point, I'll be chatty, Boris, I guarantee.
Please do. Yeah.
But like even in the future, we believe that blockchain can be used to further streamline cross-border payments and improve access to the existing financial system. And so being fairly new to the company, you know, this desire to improve the financial system is one of the reasons I joined MoneyGram, and why I'm proud to be a part of the company and this project and partnership.
Very cool. Thank you for providing that context. And I just want to call out here just the sheer scale of this. So, you know, MoneyGram today offers cash pickup locations in 350,000 individual cash pickup locations around the world in 190 countries and territories. So it's basically everywhere. So the sheer breadth, geographic breadth of this is very impressive. And with that, I'd like to take a moment to just comment on the size of this opportunity and the problem that Stellar and MoneyGram are addressing for wallets. So, you know, the truth is, everybody, I'm sure most of us on this webinar right now have a ton of credit cards and debit cards. A lot of people probably have multiple bank accounts. But the reality is, it is pretty shocking that many people in the world, about 1.4 billion of them, actually don't have access to banks and don't have a bank account at all. And so these people often find themselves, you know, unable to participate in the world of Web3, all the innovative financial services that are being created as a result. And, you know, that can vary from just wanting to get some exposure to digital assets. Maybe they want to buy, you know, a small fraction of a Bitcoin just to have exposure to that, or they want to actually, you know, participate in a fuller way with the world of Web3. If you don't have a bank account, you're often just, you have no way of accessing that. And so with MoneyGram Access, we're opening up MoneyGram's physical locations to enable people in the cash economy to go and experience that. And so we've developed this very short video. It's about 15 or 20 seconds that kind of drives home this point of how many people around the world are unable to interact with the digital economy. And so I'll play that for you now. All right, so that just hopefully helps illustrate a little bit the kind of the scale of this opportunity. 1.4 billion people, that's a lot of people. That's, close to a fourth of the world's population, a little bit under that. So this is pretty impactful, and we really think that this has the opportunity to change things for people around the world. Alicia, you've been with MoneyGram for some time. Can you comment on the scale of this opportunity, how large the cash economy is, why it's such an important piece of the global financial system?
Yes, absolutely. As I mentioned, this initiative is part of our kind of digital strategy going forward, but there's still many barriers to growth in the digital space, such as the lack of utility, the lack of any real on and off ramps to local fiat. And so by opening up our network and integrating with the blockchain, we're able to help solve this issue. A new segment of cash users are able to convert their cash into crypto and vice versa, which gives them access to fast and affordable digital asset services that may have previously been out of reach. And while our network is large, it continues to grow. We have locations everywhere from large metropolitan areas to remote areas. If you're out in Nepal heading to Mount Everest or vacationing in the British Virgin Islands and decide to cash out of your wallet, you can go to a MoneyGram location. So, we're doing a lot of different things for consumers with this partnership.
Very cool. Yeah, I really focus on the word access here. This is really all about just increasing access to these very innovative financial services that people are developing in the world of Web3 to people who just haven't had that access in the past. This video keeps wanting to play. All right. So moving on, let's talk a little bit about, what does this do for wallets? Because while, people and end users are the ultimate beneficiaries of this, it is up to the wallets and the fintechs and the apps to actually integrate the service and make it available to their users. So, what does this do for wallets? Why would it be interesting for a wallet or an app of any kind? It doesn't have to be a wallet. So the first thing I think to keep in mind is that this is just an additional cash on an additional fiat on and off ramp rail. So, most apps out there somehow connect to how people hold value. A lot of people, will top up their wallet balances with a bank transfer. They might do ACH in America, or they might do SEPA transfers in Europe, or even local payment rails. This is essentially adding a whole new rail to your app, and that is cash. So physical, actual, cold, hard cash in your pocket. You are now able to turn that into digital assets. So, number one is complementing your existing on and off ramp rails with a brand new rail, which is cash. The second thing to consider is that in addition to adding a new type of payment method, you're also expanding your geographic reach. So, as we've mentioned several times, MoneyGram, has been building out this network of physical locations for decades. And so they exist everywhere. And so that means that through this one integration with MoneyGram, you're now able to expand to new markets and new geographies. So let's say your app, is not currently active in, Ethiopia because you just can't access those users. Well, now those users can walk into their local MoneyGram location and, pick up cash. And then I want to just say a word or two about the use cases that this can drive. So, I kind of started this conversation by dispelling the myth that this isn't about remittances. It can be about remittances if that's the use case that your wallet wants to address, but it can be so much more than remittances. And that's kind of the message that I wanted to drive home here, which is that imagine for a second a use case that really has nothing to do with remittance, like payroll, or for a freelancer platform. Many people around the world get paid in crypto because it's easier to work for an international employer and get paid in USDC and digital dollars, for example. And now you're able to withdraw that into cash through MoneyGram. And so if there are any freelancer platform developers out there, or any company that wants to do payroll, for example, I think this is a really perfect use case for MoneyGram Access. But it's not just limited to that. It could be an exchange, a crypto exchange, for example, that wants to allow people in developing countries, unbanked people to be able to, or even underbanked people to be able to make deposits and withdrawals. P2P payment apps like the global Venmos of the world, all of these types of apps are able to leverage this. So while it can be used to power remittance use cases, it is certainly not limited to that. And Alicia, can you tell me a little bit about how you view this question of what types of use cases can this power internally at MoneyGram?
Yeah, I mean, I think everything you mentioned, Boris, is pretty on par with where my head has been going with it. From a which wallets do we partner with perspective, companies that are looking to work across the globe or scale globally to solve real customer problems, such as, I need to get paid in cash or something like that. This is really tailored towards those types of use cases. So yeah, I agree with everything you said.
All
you
right.
took all my talking points. We should have swapped.
We should have. Sorry about that. But yeah, the main message here is that we encourage wallets to be and apps to be creative about what types of use cases that this can apply to. It certainly doesn't have to just be limited to remittance.
Remittance, absolutely.
All right, so let's get a little bit more granular here and dive into some of the kind of operational details of how this works. So the first thing to mention is that the settlement asset for this program is USDC on Stellar. So that's what MoneyGram Access uses as the way that these payments are settled. So for example, when a user walks into their MoneyGram location in El Salvador, they will deposit local cash and get USDC into their wallet. And vice versa, if the user is in Mexico and they want to withdraw, they will the wallet will send USDC to MoneyGram, and MoneyGram will then make Mexican pesos available to pick up. So that's kind of one major point here. And this is, you may be asking, what does Stellar have to do with this? Stellar is the rail that's powering the digital asset side of this. So, again, a user walks in, they deposit cash, they get USDC on Stellar. Now, what happens after that? What happens if a user actually wants Bitcoin or wants some other esoteric asset that isn't USDC? They are completely free to do whatever they want from that point. And from that point on, MoneyGram Access, the job of MoneyGram Access is done, right? So what MoneyGram Access is doing is converting physical cash into USDC. Once that is done, then the user can go and trade that for Bitcoin or send it to somebody else or whatever it is that they want to do. The next thing that I wanted to mention here is that this is about me-to-me transactions. So what do I mean by me-to-me? This is not MoneyGram is very famous for peer-to-peer remittances. I want to send money to my mother in X country. So this is a little different. This is a me-to-me in the sense that this is for one user that walks into a MoneyGram location and tops up their own wallet account. So it's not that they're sending abroad, it's that they're topping up their own account or withdrawing cash from their own account. And by account, I mean their account with the wallet of their choice. Now, you can use this to power a peer-to-peer style use case. So for example, I walk into my MoneyGram location, I deposit cash dollars, and then I get USDC in my wallet, and then I send that over to my mom wherever she lives, and then vice versa, she can withdraw that through MoneyGram into cash. And so that in the end is a peer-to-peer remittance, but MoneyGram is only doing the me-to-me, the deposit, and the me-to-me, the withdrawal. Now, a word on custody models, KYC, and compliance. So this supports both custodial and non-custodial wallets. So think of wallets that custody funds on users' behalf. It works with those, and it also works with non-custodial wallets where users actually have custody over their own funds. They control the private keys. So both of those are good options. By default, KYC is collected by MoneyGram in a web view, and we'll get into some of the details around that shortly. And KYC can be shared with MoneyGram if the wallet has already collected KYC, so that it's a better user experience. Alicia, any comments on these? Did I miss anything?
Don't think so.
I guess, yeah, one interesting question for you, kind of going back to the settlement asset piece, is, there's lots of blockchains out there. What led you guys to pick Stellar over others? What makes Stellar a good digital asset platform for this product?
Yeah, that's a great one too. I think cost efficiency with Stellar, there's no gas fees, which is really important in some of the use cases we were talking about earlier. Also, because Stellar is a payments oriented blockchain, it's already being leveraged by a lot of the wallets targeting the same audience. So a good match there. And then the standardized integration with the Stellar protocol makes it easy for wallets to integrate and onboard. Like we can scale much faster with this integration than most other types of integrations.
Yep, makes sense. Makes sense. Well, we are happy that you picked Stellar, and we're really excited to launch this with you. All right, so moving on now to country availability or geographic coverage. So again, there's a cash out and a cash in component to this. In terms of cash out, it is, as of right now, it is live globally. So 190 plus countries across the globe, covering Europe, Latin America, Africa, Asia, North America, Australia. Interestingly, I learned that people around the world count continents differently. So you may say that some of these are the same continent, but anyway, it's global, which is super exciting. So especially for that payroll use case we were talking about, you could power payroll cash out around the globe right now through this one integration. Obviously, cash in is also very important for wallets and apps. Cash in is currently available in these 12 major markets. So, US and Canada and UK as major kind of Western markets, many major markets in LATAM and Africa as well. And we will be rolling out additional cash in markets over the coming months. And Alicia, maybe you could talk to us a little bit about what that plan looks like.
Yes, we are prioritizing countries for review based off of the wallet partners that are coming in. So next up we have Morocco and Senegal, and then we're continuing going through our process of adding new countries from now through the end of the year.
Awesome.
With a goal of let's get as many as we can.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so sounds like Senegal and Morocco are on deck, coming up to be added to this list of 12. And basically, the goal is to be as close to parity with cash out availability as possible. And we will be making new countries available periodically throughout the rest of the year and onward. So, if you're an app developer and you care about, you really care about cash in X country, let us know, and we'll try to prioritize that. All right, let's talk about pricing and fee structure. So obviously it costs money to maintain all of these agents and these locations around the world. So how does the fee structure work? So the fee is comprised of two pieces. One is a transaction fee, and the second is an FX spread, assuming that this is a cross-currency transaction. So for example, if you're in the US and you're making a deposit, then there is no FX spread because it's just a dollar to USDC transaction. That's a one-to-one. So there's only the transaction fee. If, however, you are in Mexico, for example, and you're withdrawing cash into pesos, so you're going from USDC into pesos, then there will be an FX component there. MoneyGram manages the FX rate because that's part of their existing core business, and that spread may vary based on country and currency. Obviously, spreads can change over time depending on what's happening in the macroeconomy, but you can get more information on the specific pricing once you have an NDA with MoneyGram. And the other important thing to mention here is that these fees are paid by the user and not by the wallet or application. So basically, when the user is staging their transaction in the app, they'll see, okay, if I withdraw pesos, then here's the amount of pesos I'm going to get for my 100 USDC. There is some exciting news here, though, which is that MoneyGram is waiving transaction fees for the first year of the service. So that means it's completely free to both the wallet and the end user. So we launched this in June of 2022, so just about a month and a couple of weeks ago. And so starting then for the first year, there are no transaction fees at all, which will make this one of the most cost competitive fiat on and off ramps, especially for cash, but I think in general in the world. And obviously, Alicia, thank you guys for doing this. Can you tell us why you decided to waive the fees and kind of what drove that decision?
Yeah, yes. So obviously this is new for us, new type of integration and a new product. So we wanted to give everyone a try it period, just so they can see how cool it is. And from a product perspective, the more users that we have try the experience and we collect feedback on what's working, what could be improved, we can grow and refine it. So, for product enhancement perspective, it's invaluable to have more users. So and like you said, it makes it extremely accessible globally from a cost perspective.
Yep. Awesome. Well, I hope this makes a difference for apps. I hope it makes a difference for users to kind of get their feet wet and experience this kind of what I would imagine to be a magical feeling, which is to be able to drop cash when you're a person who doesn't have connectivity with your financial services and be able to, participate in DeFi or whatever it is that you want to do. All right. Let's talk about the user experience really quick. I think especially for any actual app developers in the audience, this will be interesting. So the main thing to mention here is that almost everything that the user is doing is happening inside of your app. So the transaction is staged in the app via a hosted checkout API. So in these screenshots that you see on the screen here, This is one of the initial wallets that we launched this with, called Lobster. It's a wallet in the Stellar ecosystem. And so when you're in the Lobster app, you'll say, I want to deposit, and it'll give you some options in terms of payment methods. Do you want bank transfer? Do you want ACH? Do you want credit card? Or do you want to drop off cash? And so when you click cash, that is what pulls up the MoneyGram widget, or the MoneyGram hosted checkout API. And so all of this is happening inside of your app, so the user never has to leave the app. They'll complete the onboarding flow, so the KYC inside of this web view. They'll add the kind of transaction instructions of how much they want to deposit or withdraw. They'll choose a MoneyGram location. Everything happens in the app. And this is across all geographies. So it's exactly the same, no matter where you are. And I mentioned this before, but by default, MoneyGram will collect KYC in this flow. But we have noticed that many wallets, already KYC their users. And so you don't want to make this a kind of a burden on users. So it is possible to for the wallet to share this information with MoneyGram so that the user doesn't have to resubmit information that they've already submitted. That's one thing to keep in mind. The other thing to keep in mind is that once they do this once, they don't have to keep filling out KYC. So it actually lends itself to a really smooth customer experience. And by the way, again, this is fully live right now. So I would encourage anyone who wants to test it out to go and download Lobster. I think it's Lobster without an E, so lobster.co. You can download it on iOS or Google Play Store and go use it wherever you live. Especially
I'm going to keep plugging this, but as this is a very new experience for us, where this is kind of our first iteration, and so as you guys are downloading it and trying it, we really do welcome your feedback on how we can make it better. We're continuously looking for ways to make the experience as seamless as possible.
Very cool. And Alicia, did you have to go and talk to all the 350,000 agents that you work with, or how did you go about making this happen?
Well, we have, as you can imagine, with a network that big, you kind of have to have standard ways of informing those many locations of changes to the program. But like from a what happens in the store perspective, it's very much BAU. It's they take in money, and like customers come in and send money or receive money every day. So that part is very standard. It didn't really take much for us from that perspective to roll it out. Awesome. And we have our usual communication, channels and our sales teams across the globe that help us with questions as they come up.
Yep, makes sense. And BAU, by the way, is business as usual. I didn't know that. I didn't know that one before I started working with you folks. And yeah, so the cool thing here is that a lot of the kind of specifics around the transaction are all staged inside of the app, so that when the user actually walks into the MoneyGram location, most of the details have been taken care of, and they can just show the reference number and the ID and pick up their cash and go about their merry day. All right. So I think this is getting towards the, this may be the last slide. So if this sounds interesting to you, first, I really encourage you to test it out for yourself. But in any case, reach out to us at partnerships@stellar.org. We're happy to answer any questions you have to kind of help you understand this better and see if it's a good fit for you. And if it is, then that's fantastic. We'll make an intro to the MoneyGram team. You'll sign an NDA with them and complete due diligence and onboarding. And ultimately, you'll have a commercial arrangement with MoneyGram. Then you'll do the actual API integration. The SDF team can help you with that. We work with wallets all day, every day. And this is a pretty standard, hosted checkout style integration that I think most wallets are already familiar with. And if not, we're happy to help. And then, of course, we launch. So two main callouts here. One is you can find more information on this at stellar.org/MoneyGram. So go check it out there. We also have a video of the actual full user experience there for both deposit and withdrawal. And then if you have any other questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to us at partnerships@stellar.org. And with that, I think we have a couple minutes left for questions. So thank you very much.
Thank you. We have a lot of questions. The first one would be for Alicia. Can you clarify the total amounts that can be deposited or withdrawn?
Yes, so I'll caveat this answer with, I think I saw another one come through about compliance with local law, but we have controls in the system for local limits. From a program perspective, ideally it would be $950 a day for cash in and $2,500 a day for cash out. But with the caveat that it really depends on some of the local, there can be local limits that are different.
Thank you. Another question, I think this one is for Boris. Does integrating into the Stellar network open up access to other cash-in or cash-out partners or companies besides MoneyGram?
Great question. Yes, it does. So one of the really, I think, what we hear is a favorite among developers in the Stellar ecosystem is that we've done a really good job at standardizing integrations within the Stellar ecosystem. So basically what that means is that the integration that you do to leverage MoneyGram Access is actually the same exact API that other companies in the Stellar ecosystem use to provide their on and off ramps. So, while MoneyGram is providing cash, physical cash on and off ramps, there are many other companies that provide bank rail or local payment method on and off ramps. And all of those different companies leverage the same exact API, the same syntax. So once you integrate one, it's basically like flipping a switch for other ones.
Thank you, Boris. Another question for Alicia. Are MoneyGram screens available in other languages like Spanish?
Yes, right now, based off IP address, it's available in English, Spanish, Portuguese, and Ukrainian. And we have plans as we enhance the product to add more languages in the future.
Another one for you, Alicia. Is it free for a year from June or from date of signed contract with MGI?
From our launch date, June.
Great.
Which means that if you want to leverage this for free, let's hurry up and make it happen.
Another question, I think it's for either of you. What engineering resources can you provide us with?
Yeah, I can take that one. So, like I said, this is an integration that we've been working on wallets with for many years. We have a lot of testing tools. We have SDKs wrapped around every major programming language. So there's a lot of tooling and documentation that exists around this. So most wallets, do it on their own really quick. But if there are any questions, we have a dedicated support team to help walk wallets through it.
Oh, this one is for Alicia. What does the due diligence component entail?
Not getting into like all of the details. It's pretty standard for any type of financial services partnership, background checks, that sort of thing. So I think it's pretty on par with what would need to happen for any other type of partner in the financial realm.
And I think we have time for one last question for Boris. What's the role of USDC, and will there be other stablecoins or cryptocurrencies integrated with MGI?
Yeah, so USDC is basically the entry point for people into the digital economy, the digital asset world. So basically, like I mentioned, when a person makes a deposit, they get USDC. This is nice because USDC, obviously, as we know, is just a digital dollar, which is kind of easy for folks to understand. It's also something that financial services companies, financial institutions are comfortable with using, oftentimes more so than actual cryptocurrencies. And so it really serves as a nice entry point for people. It's also, like Alicia mentioned, very cost efficient and fast on the Stellar network. So it's basically the kind of the core asset for this service. And again, from there, you can do whatever you want with it. You can flip it to Bitcoin. You can send it to somebody else. You can hold it as an inflation hedge if you live in a country with runaway inflation. So there's lots of things you can do with it. I think USDC in particular is just very versatile as far as assets go. And so I think it makes a lot of sense here. In terms of other stablecoins or cryptocurrencies, it's possible, but certainly not anytime soon. So it's not our priority to introduce other assets. I think a big part of what makes this work really well is the simplicity of the program. So, MoneyGram settles with wallets using one asset alone. It makes it very simple. It kind of reduces the surface area of this for any possible problems or hiccups. So I think it actually is a feature, not a bug, that it's one asset, because once you get USDC, you can do whatever you want with it. But it's nice to be able to interact with MoneyGram just using one asset.
Great, thanks. Well, we have a lot of questions coming in, so I'm going to try to squeeze in one last one, and this one is for Alicia. What can we expect next, and how will the service of relationship with MoneyGram evolve?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, we're just getting started. This is our first iteration. I think making the user experience and the in-store experience as seamless as possible is a priority. We have a pretty robust roadmap even through the end of the year and beyond, which includes language expansion. We have a desire to add other types of cash in and cash out functionality, such as account deposit and that sort of thing. And so we will just continue to grow it and make it better as we go.
Thank you both, and thank you all for taking the time to join us today and for all the great questions. Watch out for the recording on SEF social media and YouTube.